Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. Alright, and welcome back to the continuing deep dive into the depths of 4 Against Darkness. And today we are going to be taking a look at 4 books, a brief look at 4 books. And those 4 books are The Concise Collection of Classes, Wayfarers and Adventurers, Twisted Minions, and Twisted Dungeons. The reason that this second part of the series is going to be taking a look at these 4 books is that I think these 4 books really help to augment the original book. And if you were to purchase these 5 books as kind of a starter bundle, I think you would have a really good, not only would you have a good idea of the game, if you're going to like it or not, but it would add enough to the base game, to the base book, which is somewhat limited in its variety. And it adds enough to extend that play for probably a couple of months or so, where you could have a lot of fun with just a few books. It wouldn't be a very expensive investment, and then you could decide whether or not you want to really dive into the game and get all of the other books and supplements and that kind of thing. So I think these 5 books are an excellent kind of beginner's bundle. And I say that as not an expert in the game, but this is just kind of my preliminary feelings as I've been reading through the books, I've been playing the game more. These 5 books are kind of like, if they were to sell kind of a box set, I think this would be a really cool box set of 4 Against Darkness. So what do you get in these books? Well, in the first 2, Concise Collection of Classes and Wayfarers and Adventurers, you get a whole bunch of new classes to add to your game that you can use, and you also get a variety of other things. I think I prefer Wayfarers and Adventurers a little bit more than I do Concise Collection of Classes, and we'll talk a little bit about why. Once again, the art in this game is kind of an unsung hero. I have said that before, but I never really hear people talking about the art, and the art is quite good. So this was, of course, written by our couple of guys who we have gotten to know so far, Eric and Bouchard and Andrea Safiligoy. I think I said that wrong again. Sorry, I always have to practice pronouncing his name. Sorry, Andrea. With art by Andrea, with art by James Buckland Wright, Henry Clark, Sergius Ruby, Arthur Rackham, Possessed Dwarfs art based on concepts by Matt Doringrichia. And we'll take a look at some of the art. Some of the dwarf art in here is quite good. But that is also one of the reasons why I'm not super into this book past the new classes, is because a lot of this book, like half of this book, is all lore about dwarfs. So if you're really into dwarfs as a player class and you want to maybe have a party of all dwarves, different kinds of dwarves being from different clans and all that kind of thing, this is the book for you. Personally, I've never really been overly fond of dwarves in my parties. I like them, but they're not like my favorite. So with that, this book is a little light on the things that I really like, but there are still some really great things, and especially the monk class comes from this book. So this book, you're going to get a whole bunch of new classes that you can use. You can have the assassin, the elder. The elder is an interesting class because you can kind of add it to your party as kind of an elder statesman, as an old retired adventurer. Think of a character out of the game Iron Helm, jumps from Iron Helm into 4 Against Darkness. And then Fire Elf, a Harlequin, a Luton, a Marksman, a Monk, an Ogre Mercenary, or a Wilderness Guide. And a Wilderness Guide is kind of like the Elder, as well as it can be a 5th member of your party to kind of augment and supplement your party in different ways. You're going to get some new expert skills for when your characters level up past level 5, a couple new weapons, and then a whole bunch of lore and backstory and information on different kinds of dwarves. The Dwarven Dissertations is what they are calling it. I would like to see them do that, have these kind of a really in-depth character race information packets or information presented in other books, and I haven't seen that yet. So hopefully we get some more information, because some of the information on the dwarves, even though I'm not like a huge fan of using them, is really quite well written and entertaining. So we got our introduction here, just talking a little bit about what you're going to get and how to use this book, and then we get right into the meat of this book, which is your new classes. So you have your assassin. Cynics say that all adventurers are murderers, murder hobos, making their trade from the slaughter and theft of non-humans in their own homes. That is quite true. Assassins accept that fact without judgment, while others fight up front. Their specialty is killing from the shadows. Okay, and then we get the elders here. So these guys are pretty cool. Elders are experienced former adventurers who accompany parties on special occasions as mentors, despite being well past the age of swinging swords and combat acrobatics. While physically fragile, their leadership and their ability to make party members work better together make them prized, if vulnerable, companions. So it would be kind of like an escort character that you would take, and they don't attack, they don't defend, but they can help your characters, and you need to try to keep them alive, and they will do special things for your party during the adventure. So what I would probably use the elder for is in kind of a role-playing opportunity. If you wanted to make up a little story about a character, maybe an older adventurer having to go back into an old dungeon to try to retrieve some family valuable that he left or something like that. So really good opportunity. This book, especially Wayfarers and Adventurers, I think adds a lot of many more opportunities to add some role-playing and some light storytelling to your games. And this is a game that I think would greatly benefit if you are into journaling while you play your solo RPGs and solo board games. And I need to get a nice journal to write in while I'm playing this game, to keep track of cool things, cool little stories and things that happen to my characters while I'm playing. And then you get a fire elf, which is living as crag nomads or in tight-knit urban communities. The rare fire elves are irascible, gaunt figures who dislike other folk. And of course, they do use fire. The Harlequin. You can't juggle with swords. It's impossible. Last words of the buffoon hater. So Harlequins are kind of cool. They're very acrobatic and they can juggle with weapons. Lutins are reedy, mischievous fairies tall as a man's knee, who favor pointy hats and pranks. Their appearance is extremely varied. Some are elf-like, others have animal features or bizarre aspects. So Lutins can actually, they can steal from enemies, I believe. Given their size, Lutins can attempt to steal a monster's treasure by entering a room ahead of the rest of the party. So they're kind of like master thieves, which is kind of cool. And then we have the marksmen here. And the marksmen are, of course, they specialize in ranged weapons. Marksmen and markswomen are professional soldiers trained in the use of ranged weapons. The monk, we've gone over the monk a little bit because I am playing a monk. My monk Sante did level up to level 2. And I also leveled up Amara, my cleric, and Sante did fail one of his level up rolls, so I had 3 rolls that I forgot to use. You're supposed to use your level up rolls as soon as you get them, but I forgot and I used them after that last dungeon. But I do have 2 characters up to level 2 now, which is nice. But I'm playing an unarmed monk. There are monks that use weapons. One of the cool things about monks is when they go to their expert levels, they have to challenge a more expert monk of their level in order to gain kind of admittance into the upper echelons of their school, of their training, of their dojos and monasteries. So that's kind of cool, the way that the monks level up past normal levels into advanced levels. And then you have an ogre mercenary. So there are a few kind of like monster classes in this game. There are trolls and these ogre mercenaries. They're not very smart, but they're very powerful. And then we also have here our wilderness guide. And the wilderness guide is kind of like the elder. You can add this as a 5th party member who will help you. and it is officially known as a wilderness survival guide. This character stands for a native or local youth who leads the party through shortcuts and hideouts in order to make traveling the wilds less dangerous. So they act as guides for your party, and they can help augment your party in different ways, which is pretty cool. Then you have a couple new weapons, and they're both ranged weapons, a crossbow and an arquebus. And you have a whole list of new expert skills for when your characters reach the higher levels. And I haven't really looked into these too much. I'm saving some of these for surprises as my characters get into higher levels. But there are quite a few, and some of them that I have looked at sound pretty interesting. So it should be a lot of fun going into the higher levels in this game. And then the rest of this book is a huge, just very, very detailed look at all kinds of different dwarfs, different clans, different backgrounds, and the way that they use different kinds of weapons or different kinds of armor, their natural environmental advantages and disadvantages, some of their gods and their backstories, so all kinds of things. If you're really into dwarves, I highly recommend this book because you will get a lot of information that you can use to help add a little bit more story and personality to your games, which is something that some people say is missing from this game, and I think that's a little bit true if you're only focusing on the base game. But as you add more stuff, that kind of information, that kind of story and exposition and fleshing out of the world becomes more apparent. And that's especially true if you start journaling your games. And that is especially true in this book, Wayfarers and Adventurers. So again, this is a book that really adds a bunch of classes, but it also adds a couple of things that I think are really cool to the game, to developing the game as a narrative. And that is the character traits, rare traits, and milestones. So the first thing we get here is, of course, we get some new classes and some wonderful artwork. Here there is that Druid with his moon-shaped, crescent-shaped sickle. The Druids have their own magic that they can cast. So Druids are nature priests unaffiliated to temples and organized religion. We get a martial mystic, which is kind of a sister, a sibling, a cousin to the monk, and they specialize in unarmed fighting, and they get these chi powers, and once per game, or the martial mystic received a number of chi points at the beginning of every adventure equal to the level +2, and then they can spend those to do a whole bunch of different things, which is really cool. They can create an energy attack, break free of chains, evade melee without suffering attacks. They can parry, focus on non-lethal combat, because sometimes you do want to take monsters alive as prisoners. So yeah, all kinds of different things. The main problem is if you're playing a mystic, you're going to be referring to this book quite a bit. I guess you could probably print this out and make a copy of it and keep a list of your special abilities there. All right, then gnomes. Gnomes are pretty cool because they deal in like traps and little funny little gadgets that they can build on the fly while they are in the dungeon, and then they can use those as a gadgeteer to use their gadgets in different ways, which is pretty cool. And what do we have coming up here? A wood elf, so another kind of elf. A wood elf adds their level to all attack and defense rolls when fighting in a forest or jungle. So kind of limited there, especially if you only have the base book, you're not really going into forests or jungles, you're going into dungeons, so you probably wouldn't want to take a wood elf. But if you were to expand your games and then go into other environments, you would think about taking a wood elf with your party. And then the green troll. This is pretty cool, taking a troll. It would be kind of like taking a giant ogre on an adventure. They would kind of be a captive, probably. Maybe you've trained a troll since he was a little trolling, and kind of like a pet, a more sentient, aware pet or something like that. I don't know, but they are stupid, and when it is their turn, you do have to roll on this green troll stupidity table to find out what exactly they do on their turn. They can act normal, they can sense a crisis is coming. They could be idle, hungry. I think they'll take a nap, cast a spell. I forgot how to fight. All kinds of different things. If you like chaos in your party, I think it would be a lot of fun to take an advanced character, and one of the new abilities that you have is being a troll master, I think it's called. And you can control trolls a little bit better. But if you took one character with 3 trolls as your party, that could be a lot of fun, a really fun way to play the game. Once again, I do have to point out a little bit of the issues with the way these books are organized, because you have this chart here, right? And it's in a certain order, but then you go down to the detail of what you roll, and it's not in the same order. We have normal, a crisis is coming, idle, hungry, okay, and then it goes to mindless fury. It skips, I'll take a nap, cast a spell, I forgot. It skips a whole bunch of stuff and goes to mindless fury, but it's not even in alphabetical order. And then you go to flee, and then I forgot how to fight. It's like it's all over the map. It's so weird. I'm not quite sure why it was organized in this way, but it does make finding things pretty difficult, especially when you're just in combat and you want to get through the combat. So this section here really should be reorganized in a new edition of the book. And then we get into this part, and this is the part that I really love, and that is character traits. Character traits are small quirks and flavorful notes that you may add to your characters to make them unique. Some are positive, some are negative, and some have little game effects but help you give more personality to your heroes, and that is a D66 roll. And so what I do is when my characters level up, I give them a chance to gain a character trait. And I had my cleric Mara. She leveled up to 2, and so she got to roll on the trait. And what you do is you roll a D66, and she actually rolled this heirloom. I think that was 66 that I rolled. No, it wasn't 66. Let me find the let me find her trait real quick, because it was pretty interesting. Heirloom, yeah. So Mara, she leveled up, and she discovered that she had a family heirloom. And this character inherited something from his family or his sponsor. Choose one of the following. You could get an additional bunch of gold, kind of like a healing, 1d6 potions or scrolls, any mix from any books you own, a magic light weapon that adds +1 to attack, or 3 clues that may be used to buy a secret as soon as the character had at least 1 encounter. So I took the thing that gave me 3 clues, so in my next adventure I can find out something about the boss or something about the dungeon that I am in. But there are a whole bunch of different traits that you can roll on, and I think that adds a lot to your character. So as you start to get these little traits, you can start to flesh out your characters with little backstories of little things that they have. They can become scarred, they can have orc blood, unusual skin color, hunted by ratmen, a special spell talent, spell allergy, maybe a noble birth, a drunkard. So all kinds of really cool little things. And then there are also, if you roll double 6s, you can have twin traits, which you can have 2 different traits, or you can roll on this rare trait chart here, which gives you a little extra bonuses. And then in addition to the traits, there are these character milestones. And a milestone is an optional short-term goal that the player assigns to 1 or more characters. And so once again, I gave a chance. It was a 50-50 chance. Mara got the milestone, and she rolled to try to build a shrine to Sali, which was 66, I believe, here, the last of the milestones. And the milestone here is Sali is a magical white doe who is the animal companion of the god Koremnos, the Horned One. Sali, among her other abilities, has the ability to turn into a swarm of brown bees. So to build a temple to Sali, the character must spend a total of 300 gold in 3 installments of 100 gold each. So I have this little quest now where I'm trying to build a shrine to this doe god Sali. And there are all kinds of different little quests that you can roll on to assign those to a character or maybe a party to add some more narrative elements, to add some more things that you might want to try to do that could carry on from multiple games, from multiple sessions. And really good opportunities there to start journaling and making your games feel more like they have this connective narrative and expositional through line for the parties to build, for the characters to build, and for you to just have more connection to your games. Then we have our list of Druid spells, some expert Druid spells, some Druid scrolls, new wizard based spells. So this game does add quite a bit of magic to your games. And also you get a animal companion, new expert skills. There's the troll trainer. Gnomes, halflings, lutins, and goblins only. So you could be a halfling going into a dungeon with a halfling and 3 trolls as a troll trainer. That could actually be a lot of fun. And then new animal companions, a forest shadow or a bear wolf. You also get a chart here of some alternate minions that you can use if you're getting tired of the minion chart from the original book. You can use that chart there. And then a couple weapons. Again, ranged weapons, bolas and a boomerang. All right, then the last 2 books we're going to take a look at today are Twisted Dungeons and Twisted Minions. These do a great job of augmenting the original book and adding a lot of variety. I highly recommend these books. If you don't want to get all 5 of these and you don't want to get these 2 and you really want to check out the game, this pack here, this 4 Against Darkness, Twisted Minions, and Twisted Dungeons is something that I would recommend, because what these do is these augment, these change, these add to the tables in your original game in different ways that add a little bit more flavor and story and creativity. So in Twisted Minions, you can decide to use this book whenever you want. Whenever you are rolling on the minion chart on any book, you can say, okay, I'm going to give myself a 50-50 chance, you know, 1 out of 6, 2 out of 6, whatever, 3 out of 6 chance to also roll on this Twisted Minions table. And this Twisted Minions table is a huge number. I think it's a D100 roll. Yes, it is a D100 with a couple bonus charts at the end where you can roll higher. If you roll on a certain number, you get a bonus. And each entry is going to add a special twist to the minion that you are fighting. So for instance, you might roll that all minions are automatically the maximum number possible. You encounter a minimum number of minions. The minions always fight to the death. If you defeat these minions, roll on the unusual treasure table. In addition to their treasure, any of these minions carrying, if any, these minions carry a lantern, some ropes, and some light weapons. So well outfitted minions. These minions are poor combatants. Regardless of any special rules applying to this encounter or written on the minion's profile, these minions will strike first in combat. Double the number of minions encountered and their treasure, if any, and roll on the unusual treasure table. One of these minions will perform an additional attack every turn. So it's a nice way to add some bonuses, to add some difficulty, and as you progress through the table, things do get a little more complicated to where you are dealing with minions where you might have to add some of your hero levels to their power. They might get more powerful. They might have different kinds of abilities and all kinds of different things that can really help to alleviate some of the sameness that you're going to be encountering rolling on the same minion tables over and over again. So really a really neat supplement that I think adds a ton to the game for not a lot of money. It also has a little tiny adventure here that if your characters get captured, then the other surviving characters can go and they will have to rescue the prisoners. Or no, actually this one is your prisoners are taken to a different dungeon, a smaller like jail dungeon, and they have to get out. They have to find the exit in order to rejoin your other party. So that's kind of cool. It adds a nice little kind of side quest for characters who are captured. Some of the minions will have different chaos abilities. They will have unusual treasure. And then they also will have, some of them will have new secrets that you can discover. So very cool book. And then this one, Twisted Dungeons, well, it does the same thing for your dungeons. So while you will be encountering the same dungeon shapes when you use this book, each dungeon at the start of the game, you can roll on this chart, which is, I believe, a D88, and it will add a twist to the dungeon. It will add something interesting to the dungeon. For instance, this adventure I'm on right now, I have named it The Ruins of Shrek, and I rolled 32, and this is a small and cozy dungeon. So this dungeon is really small. Every time I find a room, there is a 1 in 6 chance it is the final boss in that room, and there's more gold and more treasure to be found in this dungeon. So really cool way to just add some variety to your dungeons. You will have dungeons of plenty where you can there'll be a lot more gold, a lot more different items that you can find, a spider infested dungeons. There will be more locked doors, stronger monsters, a misery crawl. Not all missions are dangerous, not all foes are determined to kill our heroes, not all coffers burst with gold coins. So this is like maybe you're just going through a dungeon that has already been picked over. Sometimes it'll be slippery. You're gonna have cursed monsters, the Trap Master's Den, that sounds fun, sliding doors, tactical challenge tables. Every time a combat breaks out in this dungeon, roll a d6. On a 1 to 3, the foes have no advantage. On a 4 to 6, roll a d8 on the tactical challenge table. So that's gonna add another twist to the minions that you're going to be fighting. Mysterious codes. Small and cozy dungeon, 2 bosses in the house, tougher monsters, a magical library, a hideout, mercenaries, masterwork weapons. They're masterworks all, you can't go wrong. Cursed tunnels, teleportation tramps, halls of the prankster god, unique. So some of these can only be encountered like 1 time throughout your entire play of the game. 1,000 little mysteries, infection, alchemical spill, foul weather, collapsing dungeons, yeah, just all kinds of things. This book is really fun because it adds a really neat thing to each of your games, and that can go a long way, especially if you are journaling and you're keeping track of the dungeons you've been in and the different types of weird things that your party has faced against. So that was a look at Twisted Dungeons, Twisted Minions, concise collection of classes and wayfarers and adventurers. All great supplements, great ways to augment and to add variety to your games of 4 Against Darkness. So all right guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and stay tuned for more detailed looks at 4 Against Darkness. Take it easy. We'll talk to you later. Bye bye.